on August 15th, we got the second round of casting. So The Nevers rounds out its cast with 6 additional actors, as reported by Deadline. Kieran Sonia Sauer, Elizabeth Barrington, Ella Smith, Viola Pretjon, Anna Devlin are set as series regulars, and Martin Ford will recur in the series. I hadn't heard of them. Anybody else know of those actors?
This second set of casting I was looking through all their IMDb's, and there's not one of them with more than sort of 3 or 4 things on there, except for Martin Ford, who seems to have made a career playing angry people with their shirt off.
Oh, I'm not against any of that, so...
He also, apparently the character he's playing, Odium, they didn't come out right and say it, but reading between the lines, I'm hearing practical effects. Ooh. He's going to be sort of a monstrous character.
Oh,
which
is he
I'm all for that.
Is he the, like, really, really huge guy?
There's about 5 of them, so probably he's one of them, yes.
Okay,
he's not the Mountain, but he's about that size.
On August 16th, we got a first look at the Nevers logo. So cast and crew shared photos of the Nevers swag that they received after wrapping on episode 1. They included sweatshirts and water bottles with the logo of the Nevers. We won't know until the series premieres if that's the final true logo, but it could be. What did everybody think about that logo? For me, I hope it's not the final logo, but it does have some ornate aspects to it, which I would definitely expect from a show that's set in Victorian London.
I'm actually wearing a t-shirt right now with that logo on, so I do hope it does, if not stay as the official logo, I hope it at least is used at some point. Yeah, I mean, it's quite a simplistic logo, but I don't really see how that's a huge problem, because, I mean, it's just a logo. It doesn't need to be sort of Game of Thrones tier with all the different fancy bits on. Yeah, I'm not mad at that.
The logo for me kind of gives the impression that, we havenent shown the fans anything in a while. We got to give them something to keep them interested. Let's give them the title. Let's stylize it a little bit. Yeah, okay, that works. It's nice that we have something that may look at least similar to the title when the show premieres, but at the same time, it kind of looks like something that a person with Photoshop could have cobbled together in like 15, 20 minutes. I couldn't, but somebody else could have. I mean, it's stylized a little bit. Okay, yeah, looks nice. Is it the final version? My guess would be probably not. But it's nice that they showed us something, I guess.
Yeah. I was maybe hoping for a different font style. Like, it's very basic. You know, Buffy has a very iconic font style. Angel even has it. You know, just something a little bit more. I just feel like the show is fancy. I just want something a little bit more fancy. So moving on. So filming wraps up on August 18th. After 4 weeks of filming, Anne Skelly took to Instagram to share that they had completed filming on episode 1. Listeners can read our blog post on that at hbothenevers.com.
September rolled around, and on September 13th, which I believe thankfully wasn't a Friday, we got our first look at cast members practicing for their role. Rochelle Neal shared 2 clips of herself practicing fire breathing, presumably for her role as Annie Carby, aka Bombfire. Did you see those clips?
Oh, I saw them.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they were so cool. We've mentioned this before on the podcast. I won't sort of go too deep into it, but I'm really hoping that this is kind of a sign of things to come, and that they will try to use as many practical effects as possible and then enhance them in post, rather than just kind of pursing your lips and CGIing in some fire. Mm-hmm. It makes things just look better.
Oh, for sure. I think too much CGI cheapens it, even though I understand that sometimes is a bit more expensive, but it does the opposite to me. And you're on HBO. You've got the money to do some really fantastic practical effects. So I'm really hoping for that. I am 100% all about practical effects.
I've recently been rewatching all the old Power Rangers TV series because I'm that cool. And one thing I've noticed is as the show goes on, as they start to bring in more CGI and less practical effects, the show starts to look worse.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch like the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, all the monsters are just guys in suits, and the Megazords are just guys in suits. But when they fight, they're actually throwing down. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Then we get to the later seasons, everything's just CGI, and it all looks so soulless. There's no heart in it.
Yeah.
So given how Joss is all about heart, I'm really hoping we get as much practical on-set magic as we can.
Yeah, it's 2020 as well, you know what I mean? And
Indeed.
when you look back even in Buffy, when that started, so much of that, it was like 90% practical effects and people dressed up as these demons and monsters. Then you'd get the odd CGI, and it was terrible CGI, and it really kind of takes you out of the moment with Buffy, and as well, especially the earlier episodes, where it's kind of had like this gothic horror element to it, and come in with like the mayor has this huge, very badly done CGI snake demon thing. It's I get why that happened, but it's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah.
So, some of that CG has really not aged very well in retrospect.
Yeah.
I think they got better with it over time, at least with some of them. Like the vampire morphing effects, I think improved over time. I think there was one instance, I forget which episode this was, but it was a shot of, I think, Darla, where they literally did the vampire morphing effect. There was no cutaway or there was no CGI. I think it was literally just a jump cut where they cut to her. They cut in mid-line from her human face to vampire face. I don't think there was any CG in there at all. It was literally just a jump cut rather than doing some dodgy CGI. So, yeah, the practical effects all the way. I think the more the better.
Yeah, 100% agreed. And speaking of jump cuts and editing, on September 20th, Joss tweeted that longtime collaborator Lisa Lesek, who worked on Dr. Horrible, Firefly, Buffy, Avengers, both films, would be heading up the editing department for The Nevers.
Excellent.
I think that was definitely, I mean, it wasn't a huge surprise, but it was certainly a welcome one, because she's just an absolute master of her craft, and it's great to know that he's bringing on a lot of his stalwarts. It shows both that he has kind of faith in the show, and it shows that HBO have faith in him because they're willing to let him just bring on his own crew.
Most definitely. I don't know the ins and out of editing. I never really had issues with how any of those shows or movies were edited, but I do love, bringing in folks that have worked with him before. And I think it shows still a commitment, maybe a little bit of loyalty and interest in working with him. So I think that's really great to hear for me on my end.
Yeah, Joss does like to hire within the family. We all know that, so this wasn't really surprising. Although, though I didn't know about Lisa Lesek, I didn't know who she was prior to this, finding out that she was the editor on Firefly is really exciting to me, because I love the editing on that show in particular. There was one episode where the crew of the Serenity were being interrogated by Alliance forces, and there was one cut that has always stuck with me, and it's the one where the interrogator is talking to Inara, and they're referencing Captain Mal, and he says, "And you love him?" And then they cut to Zoe, and she's answering that question, but she's in her case it's a reference to Wash, and then they cut back to the interrogator, and the lighting is changed. So they're making it look like he was asking one of them when really he was talking to the other. And I thought, oh, wow. Okay, so he was asking Inara that question, but then they cut to Zoe's answer. And you can tell from the lighting. That was like a really clever, really like deceptive piece of editing right there. So if that was Lisa Lesek, if she was responsible for that, I'm on board.
Indeed, that is. I remember that scene, and even before because I was quite young when I first started watching that show, I had no idea about sort of the process of putting films together. I was like, it's just a brilliantly put together scene. From conception to editing, it was just very, very well handled.
Also, I don't remember that scene whatsoever, and good memory on you. That is a very, very, very specific scene. So thank you for bringing that up. I don't remember it very well. I definitely need to watch Firefly again and again and again, but I get caught up in watching so many new things new to me, that sometimes it's really enjoyable to revisit some old favorites.